So my name is Sarah and I'm a data scientist, I think, since 5 years already. In March I founded my own company called Sin Sugar. Yeah, bad time, but yeah, it's not so bad as it may sound. So I'm helping companies with gaining data science competence. So besides helping scale-ups in finding really good talents and to bring them into production or to help the people, the data scientists, to build glorious products, I'm also helping IT people to train them and help them to become data scientists. And I also help companies to literally understand what data is able to do for them, so on a very high level, and for companies that have no really clue what they can do with it. Yeah, I'm also a meetup organizer, League of Geeks. It's a tech meetup in Passau. We founded it 3 years ago. We cover topics about software development, also data science, but also innovation in general, because we are a very small town. It's the one and only meetup we have in Passau, so if you're there someday, please come. But we are already quite a large community. We have, I think, around 50 to 50 people on a regular basis there. Of course, during Corona, we only are hosting online events. So if you want to connect to me and want to know what kind of talk we are hosting, just connect to me via LinkedIn, because I make some marketing about the next events that are coming up. Yeah, good. That's all. So for today, I will talk to you and explain to you what a data science MVP actually is and why it's useful for every data science to think and to work with data science MVPs. And then I chose an open source platform in R Shiny, and I want to show you actually how you can build, how easily you can build your first data product, your first MVP in R Shiny. And I brought a small showcase on which I will show how easy it was to build one. So, but first, you need to know why it's important, right? So, we heard already why projects fail. So Robert said 87% of all data science initiatives fail. I don't think it's not that dramatically. So even though they are successful, these projects, they come around with a lot of problems. So many data science projects run out of budget very, very fast. They are losing time. So they are not really within the time plan. And the last real problem, and we already heard that, maybe they are in time and in budget, but they're not really solving a business problem. And that's really hard. And there's a reason, or a couple of reasons for it, why it can happen like this. So first reason could be there is no clear defined target, so people and data scientists don't really know what they are really need to solve. And there's no proper alignment within the team, so business is not aligned with tech, and tech is not aligned with business. And so they really don't come on the same page. And on top of that, it results in different expectations what the result and the outcome of this project really should look like. But are these really the reasons? There is a real reason behind that, and that's always the same as communication. It's a problem, the communication misfit, especially between business people and tech people. And that's something that you, data scientists, should also be aware of, because you can also put your effort inside that to minimize this communication misfit. So, the idea or the probable solution you could offer is think about also in data products. A data product, in my perspective, is not what Robert said, like, just say from a data science perspective, a data product or an MVP is something that your customer, your client can really grab, can work with, experience with. So it's not what you see on the left side, a really cool Jupyter notebook with interactive graphs. This is something business cannot work with. They are not able to think in code. They feel overwhelmed. So you really need to transfer it even further, even though from your perspective, and think what kind of outcome, what kind of product could you ship to your customer, to your stakeholder, to your boss, whatever, so that he feels it's already a kind of product, something he can really work with. Because if you communicate in this kind of visual way, you will experience that your alignment with your stakeholder, with your boss, will be a lot better. And if you ship this one really, really fast, after a couple of days working on your project, you will learn very fast and can take this feedback back into your further research and your further doing. And that comes with a data science MVP. But first of all, before we really go deep into the data science MVP, I would like to ask who has read The Lean Startup from Eric Ries? Okay, yeah, the founder, good, because it's originally coming from the startup world. So everyone who is going to build a startup and a successful company, this is a must read, because it's about how you can build products and test the market with your ideas on a very early level and very, very fast with a small amount of money, because what are startups lacking the most? It's money and time. And that's also something what Eric Ries states in the book. He says the goal of the startup is to figure out the right thing to build that customers want and will pay for as quickly as possible. So that's the goal. And if that's done successfully, also the startup will grow and will be really successful in the market. And for this, this Lean Startup book introduces a method that is called the Build, Measure, Feedback Loop. Who of you has heard of it already? Okay, some more hands, nice. So the idea of this feedback loop, of this mechanism, is that first you start with formulating a business hypothesis. So you think about your potential client, what he might need, what kind of product he needs, and what kind of problem he will solve by using this product. Then you're building your actual product, and you build a product as fast as possible with the least effort in development that is ever possible or needed. And after building this product, you are testing the product with your potential clients and adjust the product in the next cycle with the feedback that you gain during this measurement phase. And then the cycle is running up and up and up again until you that far with your product development that you're really fitting into the market and you are gaining value from it, or that you're producing value with it. So, but what is it now, the MVP? No, of course, it's not the most valuable player, what you might know from sports or the NBA. It's actually the minimum viable product. So the product that fulfills I just read it, a minimal version, so the most minimal version of a product that enables a full turn of this feedback loop. This is an MVP, and with a minimum effort of time and the least amount of effort to put in there to test your business hypothesis. And if you think about, if you want to invent a donut from the beginning, you think about, okay, you can draw a donut, and that's what you see, and like this. Or you think about, like, if you're drawing it, it's a prototype, but the actual MVP is something, it has the most, or the features that are necessary to test on the market to fulfill the basic needs the customer needs, but it doesn't have the add-ons that makes it very shiny. So for a donut, it has to look like a donut, it has to taste like a donut, but the add-ons on the top that are not, it's not needed to test it as an MVP. So what does that mean now for data science? So when I read this book, I had the feeling it's very easy to translate it to a data science project, because what a data science project makes successful is if we are able to figure out the right thing to build that stakeholders want and will pay for as quickly as possible. So it's exactly the same. This means right thing to build is solving a business problem. So we have to overcome communication barriers. And as quickly as possible means that we should invest less time and less budget. So we have to reinvent, or we have to go through the circle and the build, measure, learn feedback loop very, very often and very, very fast. So this is, I think, the process of a data science project most of the people inside this room may know, because it's a traditional sequential process of that business is giving you the task to do some data science, and then you're getting the data and you're reporting it. You do the tidy, you do the cleaning, the transformation, you do the model, the visualization, and finally you are presenting it to your stakeholders. But this takes a lot of time because data is never clean. You all know it. It's always messy, and then your stakeholder comes around and says to you, oh, when I can see results, I need it right now, and you say, oh, I'm still cleaning the data. Oh, I think I will need some more month until I can present a result to you. And this is exactly the scenario that I experienced many, many times in the last years. And yeah, we need to change it a little bit. So this process is not the right thing for it. So, and now I come to the point that I say, you should think about to add this minimal viable product approach, or this build, measure, feedback loop into your data science project, which means that data scientists should also think about how they can build a data product that is so ready that they can bring it to business partners, to stakeholders in a very, very short amount of time. So it's actually the same for startups, it's applicable for data science projects. And yeah, so I tried to put it inside here, it's not 100% working, but what I want to say to you is it doesn't matter if your data is still a mess in the first loop. Provide whatever you have on a very early stage to your customers, so that they can understand what you're really doing. Because then you are learning what your customer really wants, and you can apply it and transform your data later, or you can apply the model, or you can apply the visualization, and you will learn it very, very early. And there are different types of data science MVPs out there, and just to name a few, you can have a minimal viable model, especially for machine learning engineers. This is very interesting that you don't start with building the most complex neural network, but you start with an easy approach and provide a solution very, very early. Or you can have a minimal viable platform, which means that you're using out of the box tools. For example, from AWS and Azure, they have like cognitive services that you can use, and you're using this platform in a very early stage to come up with a result and an outcome that you can show to your stakeholders very, very early. And you can optimize it later. So you have enough time if you already proven that what you're doing is really effective. But what we are talking today, sorry that you cannot see it, it's the minimal viable product, minimal viable data product, you have to say, which is something that for me is more something like a dashboard, or something that comes together in one kind of tool that is that you can use to easily communicate to your stakeholders. And that's where we come to our Shiny. And before I give you a quick introduction into this awesome library, I want to say that there are many, many tools out there in which you can build your minimal viable products, and it doesn't have to be our Shiny. There are some, I think, Jan, you already told me and said, hi, why are you doing it in Python? And I said, I just have interest in our Shiny. I just want to see it, how quickly I can build it really in our Shiny. And I haven't worked with R for a couple of years, so it was just my interest to do it in this. So keep in mind, there are many things. It's more like the thinking that I want to provide you this evening. But just, yeah, now you're here for our Shiny, right? So I tell you a bit more about this library. So it's an open source web framework for the language R. You can develop it locally in your IDE, and then you can deploy it into productive usage. For today, we are really looking about the MVP and not about something that is productive. So yeah, keep this in mind, please, later if we go to the showcase. And what is really nice, you don't need any experience with front-end development. You don't need HTML, CSS, or JavaScript. You can add it to Shiny application, but it's not needed to build an MVP. And in the middle, you see one example that I got from the Shiny gallery, how this kind of MVP can look like. This is also from the Shiny gallery, also built within Shiny. And this is also COVID-19, one of the many COVID-19 tracker, also built in Shiny. And I can recommend you, if this is interesting to you, go to the website, because there are so many good documentation and tutorials. It's really easy to do the first steps in there. And yeah. So for the basic concept of our Shiny, it's important for you to know that's structured in two parts. On the first hand, you have the user interface part, or part of the script that is only for the user interface code, and then you have the server part. And the user interface is only taking the input from the widgets, it returns the server output, and it visualizes the data, of course. And on the other hand side, the server code is calculating all the results on the data, it loads the data set, and it respects all the kind of user input that has some correlation with inputs, for example, in filter settings, if some filter settings are like forcing independencies with the next filter setting, for example. This is also done on the server side. And what is really nice, especially for MVPs, is that you can host everything in one tiny script. And I think if you're really talking about tiny scripts, MVPs, it doesn't need to be polished, it needs to work. That's most efficient. So you can have everything in one code. And the thing that I show you later is only 200 lines of code with a lot of comments, so maybe 70 lines of code, not so many. I will show you later. And then you have different kind of components, for example, for the user input. So you can define what kind of heading you want to have. You can add a sidebar, and it's all working only with these functions that you see on the left side. So it's already there for you. You just have to use it and plan it into your script. Especially the UI input, that's about all the widgets that you can see here on the right side. So it already comes with a lot of like checkboxes that you can use, or the data input, and I think also some file input, which I found quite cool, only with one function that is already available in the package. And of course, you have the UI components that you need for receiving the code from the server. So all the data, all the like visualizations that you want to present in the application, and you're defining it also in the UI output. And these functions are receiving this kind of output from the server. And then you have the server functions, and for the MVP, it's very important to know that you only have, or that you need the function, that you need the server function calling that is taking the input and returning the output, and you only need these two types of functions. It's the render function that is actually really rendering the plots, so it's on the server side taking the data and then creating the visualizations, and also the reactive functions if you want to demonstrate these interdependencies, as I will show you soon in the demonstration with filter settings. Yeah, and now it comes to the showcase. So I thought about what could I bring to you tonight, and as I'm very fascinated about hiking, so that was me last year on my hiking trip to 12 days through the Alps from Oberstdorf to Meran. I don't know, maybe some of you have done that before. Yes, that was me here. And for the showcase, I was just like interested in is there a way that I can build a Shiny application that simplifies or facilitates for me the detection of interesting hiking regions? So I wanted to build an MVP with basic functionality, not a good looking, but basic functionality that gives me some filter operations. And it, of course, should be some interactive application, and it should be web-based. So I used R and the package R Shiny, and besides this, I used only the packages JSON-Lite and Leaflet for the web visualization and deployer. And then I deployed it later on shinyapps.io. And this was the data that I used. So I had a JSON file with 8,000 peaks. So not so many, but I thought for the showcase it's enough because it's an MVP. It's not production ready. And yeah, as you can see here, I have the name, of course, the peak group, the elevation, the country, state, and of course, the latitude and longitude, so the coordinates. And now, for those who are interested to see it on a mobile phone, you could open it, if you like, on zinsugar.com/peaks. But we can also make it quite easy. I will just show you here and reload the application as it's publicly available. And let's reload it. And that's actually my MVP. So it's called my peak navigator. And what I can see here now is that I have visualized or I have some pre-settings, like the selection of the country is always, first it's always Germany. And I have a default selection of the elevation range between 1,500 and 3,000 meters. And what you can see here now is all the available peaks that are within this region in Germany, which are available here. And it's 536 peaks in total. And here you have this nice histogram that is showing the distribution of the elevation. So we have a lot of very small peaks in Germany in this range. But of course, we can also change to Austria. And we will see we already have 2,500 peaks within this range and have a quite a normal distribution in this range. But of course, we can change a little bit the setting. Normally, as always with live presentations, right? Ah, okay. Yeah. You can change.
It's one big one.
Maybe. Yeah, like this, for example. And what I wanted to even more, because sometimes I'm curious on, I'm selecting a specific peak group. So I thought it would be nice to have have another option to select it, or another filter. So here now I built a peak group filter, and now I can have one peak group or multiple peak groups, and I don't know, maybe. Okay, that is working. So now I have here my filters. So, and that's, I think, everything from the live demo. So now you know what it is. And in the next section, I want to show you how I did it, so that you can take something home, some homework personally. So, first of all, of course, you need to load the data, of course. And as I said, I only have one script for everything of this. This is what I do in the beginning. So first loading the required data libraries, then I'm loading the JSON file, and I wanted to have all the countries for my filter selection. So I had it here, and I'm saving it into this countries variable. Then what we wanted to have is these input controls. So this means we had, first of all, we had this like this header, the title, the peak navigator. Then we had this side panel. So we are defining the country filter as drop-down menu. Yeah, within the side panel and the select input. So here you have this. Then we have the peak group output. So this is actually everything that you need to build a filter for the peak groups. But this is very special. This filter is very special because it's reactive. Because according to the country that I'm selecting, I only want to have the relevant and the, of course, I only want to have the peak groups that are within this country. So this is a little bit tricky, but I will show you it's not a big deal. It's a bit tricky because it needs to be reactive. It needs to react on my filter settings in this moment. And the last from the UI is the slider input. And the slider input was this elevation slider in which I am setting the elevation in which I want to filter for peaks. Yeah, a bit more code. I will go over this. I don't want to, overwhelm you with this code. But I found it quite interesting because on the server side, it's a little bit more. On the server side, of course, you need to handle all that is happening on the filter side, of course, because you have to filter the data and you have to output it back on the UI. Because you have this here, the drop-down menu, and then here you have the two reactive functions that are relevant to apply it on the filter settings. And this is actually also very important for you to know this input. So this is always there you're calling the input function that is taking now the data from the UI into the server. And here's the same with the elevation range that you are selecting. Yeah, and this is for to draw the map. So here you have this output setting. So here you are processing the data, you are applying the filter and processing the data. And then here you are answering this data, or you forward this data back to the user interface again. And then it's drawing this nice map with the markers. And that's more or less the same for the histogram, but I think we do not have to do this also in detail. Yeah, and that's the last thing with the sum of the peaks. So this was a function with rendering text. So we are taking the filters, and then we are just calculating the number of rows on this complete filter set that are still there after the filter. And then we are returning it back at the output at the user interface. Yeah, that's all the code that you really need. It's not more. If you like, we can share also the link to the GitHub there. If you really want to have it, it's not that much, so you can have it. Happy to help. But what more? So if you're done with the Shiny application, it's nice to have it locally, but of course you want to know how you can deploy it later, also to have it in production. So if you're able to put it into cloud environment, Shiny apps is really easy to use. I also have it on Shiny app. It's really easy to upload it there. But if you need that, if it has to stay on premise, there is you can host your own Shiny server in your own was Rechenzentrum?
Data center.
Data center, right? Yeah, in your own data center. Or if you want to have it on premise with a commercial support, there is our Shiny Connect, and then no coffee anymore for today. So, but we are finally already at the end. So, what is the conclusion, and what is this? What I wanted to tell you. So, we as a data scientist, we need to overcome the communication barriers in data science projects. And we want and need to build data products that are useful and that are useful for fast feedback, and that we have a better alignment and better expectation management with our managers or clients. And the build, measure, learn feedback loop is applicable to data science projects. So we can learn from startups methods and apply them to data science. That's really cool. And our Shiny is one suitable solution, suitable tool to build data science MVPs, fast and easy, but of course there are a lot more than only our Shiny. So that's for us Thank you very much for your attention.